Aja Wilson's squeaky clean, positive vibes only persona took a serious hit after what she did, which was unprecedented on so many levels. In fact, it's about time people started noticing the double standard. For months, she played the composed veteran, while her fans caused chaos on Caitlin Clark over the whole Nike signature shoe situation. But now that the mask is off during her long-awaited shoe reveal, Asia casually dropped a bomb. She's had a Nike signature deal in the works for 2 years. For 2 whole years, while her fans were screaming for justice and accusing Nike of blatant disrespect and framing Caitlin as the undeserving rookie golden child, Wilson said nothing at all. Why was Wilson complicit though? Well, she knew she was getting a signature shoe for 2 years, so she let Caitlin Clark take all the hate. Let's take a quick look back at that time. When Nike announced that Caitlin Clark would be receiving a signature shoe, social media almost erupted. How could they give her one before Asia became the rallying cry? Where was Wilson during all this quiet calm? It irritates me when people claim that it isn't about race because, let's face it, if the roles were reversed and Caitlin had a shoe deal in the works for 2 years, but let the world drag Asia through the mud without correcting the record, she would be crucified. Articles would drop daily, talking heads would have a field day. But when Asia does it suddenly, it's all giggles and oh, she's just acting. She was calculated, sent out a few cryptic tweets about respect, kept her followers guessing, and allowed the chaos to escalate. She knew what people were saying, and she let the chaos snowball. The biggest thing for me is that I would love to have a low-top sneaker that looks good because I play in one. That's something that I would love to have carry over and something that's so important to me. The truth is that Asia Wilson could have ended this drama with one tweet that said, "My time is coming, don't worry about me." The mob would have dispersed and the attacks would have cooled down, but she chose to keep quiet because it benefited her, not her fan base. And let's face it, a good portion of the WNBA media framed Clark as the antagonist. The rookie stole credit while she played the role of the underappreciated underdog. Oh what? She's a WNBA player who knows she's one of the greatest players ever. And now that the shoe has dropped, the Nike Warriors are frantically trying to change history. But the worst part is that the disrespect never came from Nike. Rather, it came from Asia and those around her who allowed the false narrative to spiral out of control. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, who has done nothing but elevate the league and attract millions of new fans, has had to take blows from legends players on the court and on social media, but she has kept her head down and let her game do the talking. And these WNBA fans who didn't want to see Caitlin Clark enter the game and do what she did, dominate the league, lead the league, and assist as a rookie. After the season, I believe I counted broke something around 63 records last year, either rookie records or just flat records by anybody, not even a rookie. All of these fans were furious, and Asia Wilson sat back and was more than happy to play the victim. She could have come out and made a statement that would have called off the dogs, but she didn't. In the meantime, Asia Wilson, who had the opportunity to correct the record at any time, chose to. The reason this whole situation is so frustrating is that it's not just about shoes, it's about how Caitlin Clark has been treated from the beginning. As a result, Nike put her in a position where she must go on social media to calm her fans down and almost defend Nike. This is a disappointment, but it's not surprising because Nike has done this before. Instead of being accepted as the generational talent that she is, Clark faced resistance and jealousy because she made the league too visible too quickly. Her influence was undeniable, and instead of celebrating that, people tried to bring her down, and Asia could have been the leader, the bridge, the example, but she chose vibes over values. How could they give Caitlin a shoe before giving Asia one? How could they treat Asia like this two-time MVP at the time, before she even won the damn third one? Let's not pretend that the timing of the Super Bowl ad was a coincidence. Nike ran a major campaign honoring female athletes, but somehow left out the most influential woman in basketball right now. Clark, whose games led the league in viewership, whose jersey sales broke records, and who literally made people who had never paid attention to the WNBA finally tune in. Be found almost as if someone didn't want her to be in the spotlight for a little while longer. You want to know what I'm selling, and that's greatness. A'ja Wilson, Free-Time MVP, Jordan Charles, Juju Watkins, Shaker Richardson, Arena Zalanka champion. Hustling isn't easy, but I love it, Sabrina. I know you want a tee, but you're thinking about it, and they're going to go fast, kind of like Shaq. I accept card. Where's the card? Come on. Oh, but what's in that box? These don't come out until March, so they might or might not be shirked. But if I tell you, I'm going to have to kill you. Oh, you want one of these? Nike. Nike really believed they could get one past us, but who wants a t-shirt? The awkward voiceover was essentially Nike saying, we love the revenue she generates, but keep her out of the spotlight. Subtle, not even close. My favorite thing of all. Let's listen to this. Nike actually released this one after the fact. I know you want a team, so I'm selling Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. Fans are smarter than that, and everyone saw it. It wasn't an editing error, it was intentional, so they re-recorded it as if it weren't even there. I mean, listen to it and tell me how that makes. Since we're discussing Caitlin Clark, the woman who has not only moved the needle but is the needle herself, drawing NBA-sized crowds, skyrocketing TV ratings, and redefining what's possible for women's basketball, the WNBA, and some of its most well-known names continue to act as though she is just another player on the roster, happy to capitalize on the wave she's created. However, when it comes to acknowledging her impact, cricket's silence, perhaps even a little side-eye, doesn't look good for Nike again, dog. It seemed like Nike was the day's high point, starting with the Super Bowl commercial in which they ignored Caitlin and then fixed the tang. They dropped an A'ja shoe commercial, and now we discover that A'ja Wilson has destroyed the WNBA's media credibility forever. Yes, these women were lying, and God almighty, they made such a big deal out of Caitlin Clark getting a shoe deal over A'ja. Let's face it, Caitlin Clark should be the face of every WNBA campaign endorsement push and highlight reel, but instead of celebrating her success, the league has chosen to just tolerate her presence. She is being treated like an outsider who wandered into the party and is now outshining the hosts, and the top players are the ones who are giving her the cold shoulder. Sheryl Swoopes made headlines last week when she sat up there and was applauding Indiana FIFA players, but forgot to mention Caitlin Clark. She jumped all in my ass because I sat up there and said, hey, how are you going to ignore Caitlin Clark? You know what she brings to the table. How are you just going to ignore her? While her fan base was relentlessly pursuing Clark, she did nothing. As a result, chaos broke out on social media, with people questioning her worth, resume, and her entire existence in the league. A'ja just sat there perfectly quiet and strategically, letting the chaos unfold while sipping tea in the background. Sheryl SWS is a champion, and it worked. A'ja was able to play the underdog, the unsung hero, while Clark was portrayed as the golden child, who didn't deserve her position. However, there was a plot twist. While everyone was berating Clark for obtaining a pair of sneakers, A'ja knew hers was already being custom molded, sketched, styled, and ready for release. She could have said something like, "My shoes are coming too," in a tweet or interview, but she chose not to do so because allowing Caitlin Clark to take the brunt of the criticism made A'ja appear even more empathetic. Now that the shoes have been released, the truth is out, but don't expect an apology from those who cried injustice. It's not just the opponents, it's the league for allowing it to happen. Veterans like A'ja Wilson, who had the ability to defuse the situation but chose to remain silent, are also to blame. The backlash against this was pretty intense. Everyone was asking why they weren't marketing their most marketable player, and I can't argue because Nike's stock is declining. Do you realize that Caitlin Clark's jersey sold out immediately after she was drafted with an increase of over 1,000%? For the Indiana Fever, Clark takes every elbow, every foul, and she is insulted. When it comes to Caitlin, the WNBA would remain silent, and every sports outlet would start speculating on Twitter, but everyone would just shrug. Meanwhile, A'ja is out there showing off her '01 sneakers and participating in photo shoots, riding the wave of praise, and good for her. However, she also revealed something that was based on a lie. The months of phony outrage over Clark's deal, the performative anger, and the what about the veterans tantrums. A'ja was never ignored. She simply played the game better than anyone else, quietly soaking up sympathy while the rookie was torched. The press tour has officially begun, and we have A'ja Wilson talking about, "I've been waiting 2 years for this I've been waiting 2 years for this 2025-2023 CC's announcement in 2024, and then we got Cheryl Swoops dead. Swoops dead. Cheryl Swoops couldn't help but embarrass herself. Imagine if the roles were reversed, and if Clark got the shoe first, the internet would go crazy because she's too new and hasn't proven anything. What about the legends and leading that charge? Cheryl Swoops of course celebrated A'ja's shoe drop like it was a national holiday. This is the same Swoops who rarely misses an opportunity to make subtle jabs at Clark. When A'ja wins, it's historic, and when Clark wins, it's hype. I feel so fortunate to have been a part of the Nike basketball family for more than 30 years. And I love seeing how the A'ja Wilson's I'm unbothered act doesn't hold up when you see how calculated her silence was. She's not the victim of some marketing oversight. She was the mastermind behind the curtain, letting the drama play out because it worked in her favor. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to carry the league on her back. She's the one putting up numbers, drawing crowds, and keeping the WNBA in the headlines for all the right reasons. The brand continues to champion women's basketball and athletes who play it. I didn't text A'ja. I didn't call A'ja. I'm talking like you're not here right now. She simply showed up and performed. She didn't ask for this drama or take anyone's moment, and as a result, she has been treated as the enemy. Her stats for today are 20 points, 8. That's a crazy number. 4 assists and 6 rebounds, but in my opinion, she isn't dominating because she is still a rookie. The whole story is bigger than just a sneaker though, as it has been developing since Caitlin Clark entered the league. Instead of walking into warm embraces or banners celebrating her success, she walked into elbows, cheap shots, and subtle jabs in interviews and on social media. You would think that someone who brought millions of new fans to the sport, increased every metric imaginable, and caused sold-out arenas would be welcomed with open arms, but instead she's being treated like she doesn't belong. Whether she acknowledges it or not, A'ja Wilson is firmly rooted in the old guard and the group of veterans who see what Caitlin is doing to reshape the WNBA in real time, are more interested in downplaying it than celebrating it. Sometimes it's not even direct. Instead, it's a well-timed side-eye, a passive-aggressive quote, a like on a dubious tweet, or worse, total silence while allowing the smear campaign to continue. They treat women's basketball like a junior high school locker room, and they have a fan base, media attention, receipts, and records that speak louder than any press conference. Caitlin Clark's signature shoe is coming, and unlike the silence that surrounded her when she was being targeted, she hasn't retaliated. Instead, she has kept her head down, taken the criticism and elbows, and just kept hooping. Meanwhile, A'ja is celebrating the launch of the A1, as if she had just secured world peace. Well, that's a huge accomplishment, but let's not change history. Push of a league that has gone out of its way to protect her in ways that Clark never experienced. Now, what young girl wants to grow up and play in a league where you're targeted like that? How can you sit here and claim that everyone takes women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's so dumb that it just looks like a soap opera, and now that Vegas Empire is collapsing, Chelsea Gray is no longer the same after her injury. Sydney Colson is the center of their locker room, suiting up for Indiana now, while A'ja's crowd is online analyzing if Remove the Fever makes that team is Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, Danyana Boner, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, and a front office that has been in the kitchen cooking something serious have been quietly building a juggernaut. The WNBA isn't just changing, it's transforming, and the veterans see it coming. Caitlin Clark isn't just the future, she's the now, which is why she's on billboards. Her games are causing ticket websites to crash, and networks are scrambling to air her games. The league has 2 options, embrace it or fall behind. The other day I said, what did I say? Another bomb Sunday. I said, this isn't it. You know I can't wait to see what the next bomb would be. I have to reiterate that Stephanie White isn't playing fair, she owns one. Therefore, while Asia is posing with her new sneakers, she might want to keep an eye on Indiana events because the team that her fans love to hate is about to take over. And Caitlyn isn't just chasing sneaker deals, she's coming for the MVP. She's hunting for that championship and the fever they might succeed. When others are busy talking, Clark is busy winning, and soon she won't just be rocking her own shoe, she'll be running the WNBA. Do you agree? If so, let us know in the comments, like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one. Clark is the same player they tried to discredit.